Connecting the dots across time zones. Africa World Hour on Channel Africa.
Right, as we connect those dots, a federal high court in Nigeria has ordered the deregistration of the African Democratic Congress, which is the ADC, and 4 other opposition parties for failing to meet constitutional electoral thresholds. Now, the ruling, handed down by Justice Peter Lifu, directs the Independent National Electoral Commission to remove the parties from its register, potentially reshaping the political landscape ahead of next year's elections. The ADC, whose presidential candidate is former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, has rejected the ruling and plans to appeal. To unpack this for us, we're now joined on the line by our correspondent in Nigeria, James Lyamghon. Hi, very good evening to you and welcome, Jonathan. Thank you for your time.
Good evening.
Now, this is a significant court ruling. Just exactly how big of a blow is this when we look at Nigeria's opposition politics, especially with elections right around the corner?
Well, if I will quote the spokesperson for the ADC while he was speaking on a nationally syndicated political show last night, his words were, "They are playing with fire." And he went further to clarify that given the situation of things, they have already conducted party primaries. They have put out the sale of forms of intent, and nomination forms have since happened all across the country. Primaries have been conducted, and a whopping number of millions of party members have participated. And he says if they think, if the government of the day thinks it can utilize the courts to intimidate the opposition party, then they're playing with fire. So that underscores the gravity from the part of the leading ADC. But other opposition parties have also spoken. Presidential candidate Peter Obi, who used to be of the ADC until recently when he moved to the NDC, also came out to condemn the move. And there's been generally the accusation of partisanship involvement on the part of the judiciary.
Yeah, perhaps help us understand the court's reasoning here. What constitutional electoral thresholds did these parties allegedly fail to meet? And is this a routine enforcement at this stage, or are we looking at something more consequential?
So this actually sits in the heart of Nigeria's political history, especially in contemporary times, given the fact that there is actually a constitutional provision that stipulates that parties can be deregistered. However, that constitutional provision also gave certain conditions, and those conditions are one of about 4 different conditions that were stated. For instance, it says that the party must win at least a seat at one of the different elections, be them presidential up to the councillorship level. They must score a certain percentage of votes, in some cases up to 25% of votes cast in those localities. And it's an argument that many political observers say all of these parties actually have met. The ADC, for example, did have someone elected into the House of Representatives in the National Assembly. We've seen the Zenith Labour Party have people who were elected. So many people say, look, when you look at the constitutional provision, none of it has been, none of the parties has failed to meet that, and hence they wonder why. But more importantly, there actually was a subsisting court pronouncement by a court of higher competence or higher jurisdiction. That is the nation's Court of Appeal. There was a ruling that, or let's say there was a pronouncement for a stay of action as regards similar matters. And many wonder why a lower court, justice from a lower court, has gone ahead to make a pronouncement contrary to that stay of action.
Yeah, and there's also concerns that this could reshape the upcoming elections. How might this impact the opposition field, more so as critics are already raising concerns about democratic space shrinking in Nigeria. There's a lot to think of here on whether this ruling could be interpreted as weakening opposition voices at a very politically sensitive time.
I mean, when you re-echo the various responses that we have heard ever since this ruling came up yesterday, certainly points to just this one direction. But also, when you go a bit further down from a couple of weeks into months leading up to this, opposition parties have actually been crying that this is the case, that the current administration is doing any and everything to ensure that the current political dispensation translates into a one-party actor type political scenario. And many of the opposition political party members have vowed that they will not allow this to happen. And some onlookers even say that could this even be a wise move, assuming it is coming from the leading political party? Though the leading political party has said and have cited so many instances to say, no, they are not involved in strangulating opposition. If at all anything, opposition needs to fix its own house, put it in order, instead of accusing them who are very organized and have been putting their own house in order.
Very well. Thank you so much for speaking to us and bringing us some clarity there. Our correspondent in Nigeria, Jonathan James Lyamghon, giving us a sense of some of the developments when it comes
Have a nice evening.
Thank you very much, a federal high court in Nigeria ordering the deregistration of the African Democratic Congress and 4 other opposition parties for failing to meet constitutional electoral thresholds.